The red dust of the Australian outback clung to everything, boots, clothes, skin, as if the land itself didn't want to let go of its secrets. Dr. Lisa Carter adjusted her hat and wiped sweat from her brow, staring at the glowing scanner in her hands. The machine was running hot under the relentless sun, and so was she. But she couldn't stop. Not now. For 3 weeks she had been walking this barren expanse, following strange signals buried deep under the earth. Satellite scans had revealed them 6 months earlier, geometric formations where none should exist, metallic densities too large to be natural. Most dismissed the readings as sensor glitches. But Lisa Carter didn't build her career by ignoring anomalies. "Getting anything yet, Doc?" The voice came from behind her. Jake Morrison, tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of engineer who treated stubborn rock the way sailors treated stormy seas. Dust already streaked his arms and face as he wrestled with the heavy drilling rig. Lisa frowned at the scanner. The signal spiking. Metal densities climbing, 50 meters ahead, right under the ridge. Jake leaned closer. "Old mining equipment?" Before Lisa could answer, another voice cut in, softer, carrying the fatigue of academia. Dr. Alan Brooks, professor of linguistics, squinted at the horizon. He had been brought along for one reason: if they uncovered anything resembling language, he was the man who could read it. "Or an abandoned shaft," he muttered. Lisa shook her head, her voice tinged with growing excitement. "Not a chance. No mining company ever went 30 meters deep out here. The surveys show untouched geology. Whatever's down there, it doesn't belong to us." The drill roared to life, rattling the ground as Jake guided it downward. The red earth trembled, spitting up stone and dust. 10 meters. 20. Then Lisa's scanner shrieked. "Stop," she yelled, her voice sharp over the roar of machinery. Jake killed the engine. Silence fell, broken only by the rasp of the desert wind. Lisa stared at her screen, heart pounding. "This isn't possible," she whispered. "I'm reading active energy signatures. Something down there is alive. Or at least, still running." Brooks adjusted his glasses, skeptical. "Impossible. There are no power lines within hundreds of kilometers." But Lisa knew what she saw. Another device confirmed it: structured geometry, refined alloys, power still coursing through buried chambers. Not geology. Not mining. Something built. What they lowered into the hole next changed everything. A small probe camera descended into darkness, then its lights flicked on. The screen showed smooth metal walls stretching into the distance, curving at impossible angles. Not random. Not natural. A corridor. Jake exhaled, his usual confidence wavering. Someone built this thing. And they buried it deep. Lisa's hands shook as she reached for her satellite phone. "This is bigger than us. We'll need more equipment, and security. If this is what I think it is, the whole world is going to want a piece." 3 days later, the desert was no longer quiet. Helicopters thundered overhead. Military convoys carved paths across the barren landscape. The Australian government, recognizing the scale of the discovery, had cordoned off the site with armed patrols. And still the digging continued. Heavy machines peeled away layers of earth, exposing more of the massive buried object. Even partially uncovered, its size defied comprehension: 2 kilometers long, half a kilometer wide. A leviathan of metal sleeping beneath the desert floor. Captain Roy Stevens, the military overseer, studied the structure with professional skepticism. "So, Dr. Carter, what exactly are we looking at?" Lisa stood at the edge of the excavation, wind whipping her hair, eyes fixed on the gleaming surface below. "Not an aircraft. Not anything we've ever built. Based on elemental analysis, this metal doesn't exist on Earth. And the geological evidence? It's been here for centuries. Maybe millennia. Dr. Brooks stepped forward with a tablet, displaying photographs of strange markings etched into the hull. Symbols, he explained. Not letters. Not numbers. More like mathematics wrapped inside language. Nothing I've seen in human history comes close. Stevens crossed his arms. Then what are you saying? Lisa inhaled, steadying her voice. That we're standing on top of an alien spacecraft. The words hung in the air like thunder. For the first time, humanity wasn't just imagining, it was witnessing. Weeks passed. The dig site became a global spectacle shrouded in secrecy. International teams of scientists flew in daily, while security grew tighter, rumors spreading despite the government's silence. By then, Jake's engineering team had found what looked like an entrance, a section of hull thinner than the rest, marked by faint seams. We think we can cut through, Jake told Lisa, his voice carrying both pride and unease. Lisa hesitated. To cut into something not of this world felt like trespassing. But history left no room for fear. Do it, she said. Lasers chewed at the alien alloy for hours, sparks showering the desert floor. At last, a dark opening yawned before them. Without hesitation, Lisa strapped on her gear and stepped inside. Her flashlight pierced the silence, revealing smooth corridors stretching into blackness. Symbols glowed faintly along the walls, patterns that shifted when her light touched them. She whispered into her radio. It's a ship. A starship, buried here for longer than human history can remember. Exploration teams fanned out through the corridors, documenting everything. What they found confirmed their deepest hopes, and worst fears. Skeletal remains. Tall, slender beings unlike anything in human evolution. Machinery designed for hands longer and finer than human fingers. Chambers filled with alien equipment, silent but intact. And then, the discovery that eclipsed all others. In what seemed to be a command center, a crystalline device pulsed faintly with light. As the humans approached, it stirred. Symbols appeared in midair, flowing like liquid geometry. A voice echoed through the chamber, not words, not music, but something in between. Dr. Brooks nearly dropped his recorder in shock. It's speaking, he whispered. It's trying to communicate. Lisa stared at the crystalline device. For centuries, it had waited. And now, humanity had arrived. Viewers, take a moment to imagine what Lisa and her team must have felt in that moment. Fear. Awe. Or the weight of knowing that every human belief about our place in the universe had just changed forever. And let me ask you, if you were the first to step inside that ship, if the walls themselves whispered in a language older than our species, what would you do? Would you keep exploring? Or would you turn back, knowing you had awakened something that might reshape the future of Earth? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear how you'd react. And if you're new here, consider subscribing, because this is only the beginning of the story. In part 2, we'll follow the team as they awaken the ship's intelligence, and uncover a warning that humanity cannot ignore. The corridors of the buried starship stretched like arteries through a silent giant. Everywhere Dr. Lisa Carter turned, alien symbols glowed faintly, shifting when her flashlight brushed across them, as though the ship itself were watching her. Behind her, Dr. Alan Brooks recorded every flicker of language, muttering translations to himself, though none made sense yet. Jake Morrison's boots clanged softly against the floor, his usual confidence dulled by unease. Even for an engineer who spent his life inside machines, this was something else entirely. This place feels alive, Jake said quietly. Lisa didn't disagree. Days passed. Teams set up inside the vessel, mapping its endless hallways. Everywhere they looked, the design spoke of precision, curves that defied human architecture, alloys that resisted every attempt at analysis. Even dormant, the ship radiated power. And then, in the command chamber, it happened. The crystalline device that pulsed faintly with light began to glow brighter when Lisa approached. The air thrummed, vibrations resonating in their bones. Brooks raised his recorder, whispering, "It's activating." A cascade of symbols spilled into the air. They shifted, rearranged, until a voice, layered, melodic, utterly alien, filled the chamber. Not English. Not any language on Earth. But Brooks stiffened, his eyes widening as if something in his subconscious caught hold of the rhythm. It's math. It's communicating through structure. Give me time. I can work with this. Lisa stepped closer. Ask it what this place is. Brooks hesitated, then began speaking, weaving numbers, equations, and logic. For hours, the exchange continued. The alien intelligence responded not in words but in sequences, each pattern growing more complex. Slowly, painfully, Brooks began to untangle meaning. At last, he looked up, pale and trembling. It's not just a ship. It's a memory. Lisa frowned. What do you mean? Brooks's voice shook. This vessel belonged to a civilization. The word doesn't translate cleanly, but the closest is, the builders. They seeded worlds. Raised empires. And then, he swallowed hard. They fell. This ship was fleeing. Silence pressed against the chamber. Lisa's stomach turned cold. Fleeing from what? The crystalline core flared. New symbols spiraled outward, faster, harsher. Shapes that twisted into patterns Brooks struggled to read. His lips moved quickly, voice breaking. They were hunted. By an empire. Something vast, consuming. They call it the hegemony. The word carried weight, even stripped of context. Lisa felt it in her bones, the shadow of a predator. Over the following weeks, communication deepened. The ship, or rather, the intelligence bound to it, revealed fragments of its story. It had been buried deliberately, hidden where the hegemony would never look. For centuries it had slept, waiting for a species advanced enough to understand. And now, humanity had woken it. Lisa stood in the chamber one night, alone except for the hum of alien machinery. Why us? She asked, though Brooks wasn't there to translate. The crystalline core shimmered, and for a moment, she swore it understood. The answer came days later, when Brooks relayed the ship's next message. It says, we remind it of its creators. We are young, untested, but capable of defiance. It believes, we can resist. Jake scoffed when he heard. Resist what? We've barely scratched the surface of spaceflight. If this hegemony crushed the builders, what chance do we have? Lisa didn't answer. But deep inside, she felt the tremor of a truth she could not ignore. If the hegemony still ruled the stars, then humanity's discovery had already painted a target on Earth. Military command grew impatient. Captain Stevens demanded answers faster than the scientists could provide them. Dar. Carter, I don't care about philosophy. I need to know, is this ship a threat, or an asset? Lisa met his gaze. Both. Her team had discovered systems that still functioned. Engines beyond human comprehension. Weapons dormant but intact. And data archives, vast, encrypted, holding centuries of history. If they could be unlocked, they might hold not just warnings, but blueprints. Brooks, exhausted after days without sleep, whispered the part he hadn't wanted to share. The ship isn't just telling us about the builders. It's teaching us. It wants to give us knowledge, technologies to stand against the hegemony. Stevens leaned forward. Then we take it. Extract everything. Put it into production. But Lisa shook her head. You don't understand. This isn't just knowledge. It's responsibility. The builders didn't want their legacy to be used recklessly. If we awaken this technology without understanding the enemy, we could destroy ourselves before the hegemony even notices us. For once, Stevens had no reply. The world outside the excavation was changing too. Rumors leaked, as they always do. Whispers of an alien craft spread across forums, news sites, even government backchannels. Most dismissed it as conspiracy. But some believed. And those who believed began to ask dangerous questions. If aliens existed, had they visited before? If Earth now possessed their technology, who controlled it? Lisa knew the truth couldn't be contained forever. But she also knew what was at stake. Humanity was standing on the threshold of something vast, not discovery, but war. One evening, she found Brooks staring at a projection of alien symbols, his face drawn with worry. "What is it?" she asked. His voice was hollow. "A warning. Over and over, the ship keeps repeating one phrase. I think it translates to, 'The hegemony will return.'" The words hit her like a physical weight. They weren't just studying a relic. They had inherited a conflict older than humanity itself. Viewers, imagine standing in that chamber, hearing a machine older than your species whispering warnings about an empire that consumes civilizations. Would you feel hope, knowing humanity now holds alien knowledge? Or would you feel dread, realizing that knowledge came with enemies beyond imagination? This is the moment where the story stops being about discovery, and starts being about survival. Tell me in the comments, do you think humanity would rise to the challenge, or repeat the mistakes of the builders? And don't forget to subscribe, because in part 3, the ship's final secret will be revealed. And it is a secret that will change everything humanity believes about its future. The alien ship no longer felt like a ruin. It felt like a mind. Every day, its voice grew clearer, as though learning how to shape its messages for human ears. Dr. Lisa Carter could almost sense its presence when she stood inside the command chamber. The crystalline core pulsed softly, alive in a way no machine had a right to be. Jake Morrison ran his hands along the black alloy walls. It's still hard to believe this thing has been here for centuries. Waiting. Not waiting for us, Lisa said. Waiting for anyone. But we just happened to be the ones who opened the door. Jake smirked. Lucky us. But neither of them truly believed it was luck. Over weeks, the alien intelligence unraveled more of its story. The builders had once stretched across the stars, dreamers, engineers, visionaries. They did not conquer. They cultivated. They believed the galaxy could be a garden of civilizations, each unique, each free to grow. But then came the hegemony. Brooks was the one who deciphered the fragments of history, his eyes hollow from sleepless nights. He spoke in the briefing tent one evening, his voice tight with exhaustion. The hegemony wasn't just another empire. They were an inevitability. A system designed to consume and unify by force. They believed diversity was weakness. They stripped worlds of culture, of identity, until only obedience remained. The builders resisted, and they lost. Captain Stevens leaned forward. How long ago? Brooks hesitated. Hundreds of thousands of years, maybe more. But the ship's warnings are clear, the hegemony endures. Empires like that don't die. They adapt, expand, devour. Silence fell heavy. Lisa broke it. Which means somewhere out there, they still rule. And if they ever notice us. Jake finished the thought, we're done. The next revelation came not from history, but from the ship itself. Late one night, when most of the camp slept, the crystalline core erupted with light. Lisa, jolted awake, rushed into the chamber. Symbols poured across the walls in streams, faster than any human could parse. Brooks staggered in moments later, clutching his translator rig. His voice trembled as he tried to keep up. It's showing, something. No, not something. Someone. The light twisted into the shape of a face. Alien, elongated, eyes like pools of mercury. The builders. For the first time, humanity looked into the visage of those who had come before. And then the face spoke. Not in sound, but in thoughts pressed directly against the human mind. We failed. Do not fail as we did. Lisa fell to her knees. The message bypassed language, cutting straight into emotion, grief, defiance, fear, and hope, all at once. When it faded, Brooks whispered the only words he could capture. They left us a choice. Take their knowledge. Use it to fight. Or walk away, and wait for the hegemony to find us unprepared. Jake exhaled sharply. That's no choice at all. But Lisa wasn't so sure. The weeks that followed were filled with arguments. Stevens and the military wanted to weaponize everything immediately. Humanity had to be ready, he said. Delay meant death. Brooks warned that rushing would be suicide. The builders themselves had been centuries more advanced than humanity, and even they had fallen. What good were stolen weapons if Earth didn't understand the philosophy, the unity, the discipline behind them? Lisa found herself torn between both sides. She knew Stevens was right about urgency. But Brooks was right about danger. The builders had trusted humanity for a reason. To squander that trust by repeating their mistakes would be worse than ignorance. At last, Lisa asked the ship directly, why us? Why humanity? The crystalline core pulsed, and words formed slowly in Brooks's translation rig. Because you have not yet chosen what you will become. That answer haunted her. It meant humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or armies. It was its uncertainty. Its freedom to choose. And yet choice was fragile. Around the world, rumors of the discovery had grown into storms of speculation. Governments demanded access. Corporations whispered about profits. Religious leaders debated what it meant for faith. The secret could not hold much longer. Lisa wondered if humanity could even survive knowing the truth, let alone acting on it. The breaking point came with the ship's final gift. Brooks called her into the chamber one night, his face pale. It unlocked something. I think it wants us to see the enemy. Before Lisa could speak, the walls shifted. A projection engulfed them, stars, nebulae, galaxies spinning in endless night. And then, blotting out the light, a shadow spread. Armadas of ships, vast beyond comprehension, stretching like black veins across the stars. The hegemony. Even as illusion, the sight stole her breath. Endless fleets, organized with terrifying precision. Worlds darkened beneath their grip. Cultures erased. Nothing but the cold machinery of empire. Lisa whispered, how do you fight something like that? The ship answered with a final phrase, burned into their minds with searing clarity. One seed becomes a forest. One spark becomes a fire. One world becomes a rebellion. Back in camp, Stevens demanded to know what they had seen. Lisa hesitated, then told him only part of the truth. It showed us the hegemony. And it showed us this, they can be resisted. But not yet. Not carelessly. Humanity needs time to learn. Stevens scowled. And what if time is the one thing we don't have? Lisa didn't answer. She only looked back at the hill where the alien ship slumbered, its core dim once more. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of history pressing down like gravity. Humanity had awakened something vast, not just a relic, but a destiny. The builders were gone. The hegemony still ruled. And Earth stood at the threshold, with the power to choose its path. Would it rise as a spark of defiance? Or would it fall, another forgotten victim in an endless chain of conquest? Viewers, I want you to imagine, if you were in Lisa Carter's place, holding knowledge that could uplift humanity or doom it, what would you do? Would you share it with the world, or guard it until the right moment? Because the truth is, this story isn't just about aliens. It's about us. About the choices every civilization must face when confronted with power. The builders left a warning. The hegemony casts a shadow. But humanity still has a choice. Tell me in the comments, would we use that choice wisely? Or are we destined to repeat the mistakes of those who came before? And if you've stayed with me through this journey, make sure you subscribe, because the story of humanity and the stars has only just begun.